yung mga papasok, ma-review na lang nila yung hindi nila naabutan. Okay? So, bago tayo mag-proceed sa partnership liquidation, may questions ba kayo sa previous lessons natin? I think last meeting natin next week. And then, i-upload ko na lang ulit yung finals nyo. Yung sa'yo, Faye, sundin na lang natin yung kay Kuya JC, yung sa lesson natin. Kasi sabi niya, ano ba yun? PNL yung gagamitin. So, if ma-encounter nyo si Sir JC sa mga, ano nyo, sa next subjects nyo, tanungin nyo na lang siya. Clarify niyo sa kanya. And i-follow nyo lang yung materials na in-upload ko sa e-class. Bakit parang nag-e-echo? Next week, meron pa tayong lesson. Brief lesson or introduction to corporation and financial ratios. Yun yung topic natin next week. Kailan ba yung sem break nyo? Anong date exactly mag-start?
21, ma'am.
21, ma'am.
Ay, Saturday na. So, may last meeting pa din. Hindi ko na lang isama yung corporation and financial ratios sa final exam. So, yung coverage until partnership liquidation lang. Okay, anyway, introduction lang naman yung corporation. Then, para ma-familiarize kayo yung mga terms ginagamit kapag sa corporation. Kasi, yung advanced accounting, usually, corporation na yung mga examples, yung mga isa-solve nyo. Ayan. So, lahat na ba nakatake ng exam sa
No, ma'am.
Hindi pa.
Wala pa ako, ma'am.
I-check ko lang yung yung e-class. $13 pa lang pala nag-take sa inyo.
Kanina kasi, ma'am, hindi ma-access yung e-class and kahapon. So, after na lang ng class, ma'am.
So, yung mga may problem sa e-class, i-PM nyo lang ako kung na-exit yung ano nyo, yung exam while nagte-take kayo, PM nyo lang ako para i-override ko. Yan. So, okay, mag-start tayo sa partnership liquidation. Yan. So, ang learning objectives natin this week is to state the order of priority in the settlement of claims in cases of liquidation, account for the liquidation of a partnership. So, in partnership liquidation, you already terminate the partnership itself. Unlike dissolution, there is only a change between the relationship among partners. So, in liquidation, you sell all your assets and then you settle them according to priority, kung sino ba yung mauuna, creditors, external creditors, then internal creditors, then partners na. Kapag may cash realized on sale of the assets. Yan. Okay? Gusto nyo ba mag-long quiz sa partnership operations para mataas yung class standing nyo? Kasi short quiz lang ata yung na-upload ko dun.
Okay lang, ma'am.
Yan. Sige, para sa iba, chance nilang mag-ano, itaas yung class standing. Yan. Okay? So, what is liquidation? When? This week, anytime, 1 week ulit. So, i-upload ko mamaya or bukas, then closing niya before ng ano, sem break, siguro 20 or 21. And then yung final exam within the week. Yan. So, continue tayo. What is liquidation? It is the termination of business operations or the winding up of affairs. It is a process by which assets are converted to cash. So, ibibenta na lahat ng non-cash assets like inventories, equipment, or kung ano pang natirang PPE sa company na they own. So, i-realize nila yun or ibebenta nila. Liabilities are settled and any remaining amount is distributed to the owners. Yan. It may either be voluntary per agreement of partners of a solvent partnership or involuntary, which is bankruptcy. So, yung mga partners, pwede i-liquidate yung partnership upon mutual agreement. Kung nag-agree sila, i-liquidate yung partnership. Yan. Or involuntary kapag wala na talaga silang pera or bankrupt na yung business. So, i-liquidate na lang nila yung partnership kasi there's no use for keeping the partnership if lagi lang naman may loss. So, better to liquidate. Yan. First process is conversion of assets to cash. Yan. So the conversion of assets into cash is referred to as realization. So yun yung term. Pag may nabasa kayong realization sa problem, ang meaning nun is conversion of assets into cash. Yan. While the settlement of claims of creditors and owners is referred to as liquidation. So iba yung liquidation ng partnership as to liquidation ng settlement ng claims of creditors. So may dalawang meaning. Yan. The winding up process starts with the realization of non-cash assets which determines the manner on which the liquidation or payment of claims is carried out. So ang first winding up process Nag-i-start siya by converting non-cash assets into cash. And then, kapag may cash na kayo, doon pa kayo magli-liquidate. Magbabayad sa creditors by priority. Yan. So there are two methods of liquidation. First is lump sum, and the second is installment or piecemeal liquidation. So lump sum, ano ba yung lump sum? All of the non-cash assets of the partnership are sold simultaneously or within a very short period of time. So lump sum, parang kabuuan. All of the assets are sold at once. So lump sum yung tawag doon. Then the proceeds are then used to settle, first of all, the liabilities, and any remaining amount is paid to the partners under a lump sum payment. So, first application of payment is to the creditors. So, isettle muna lahat ng liabilities ng partnership bago i-reimburse sa partners yung mga capital balances nila. Kasi, unlimited liability yung partnership. So, kahit sobra yung liabilities, kapag may loss yung partnership, kapag binenta nila yung assets nila, i-absorb yun ng partners. So, madededuct yung capital balances nila. Yeah. This is possible when there is a contracted buyer of all the non-cash assets of the partnership to purchase it on a package deal. So, yan. Kapag may isang buyer kayo na gustong bumili lahat ng assets ng partnership, pwede nyo siyang lump sum liquidation. Yeah. Ang second method naman, installment, which is used in most cases kasi hindi naman na every time may sure buyer kayo sa assets ng partnership. So yung partnership nagle-liquidate sometimes or most of the times through installment basis wherein they will ibenta nila kung ano yung pwede nilang mabenta ngayon and then later on, pag may gustong bumili sa mga natirang assets, saka pa nila marirealize yung remaining non-cash assets. Yan. It is used in most cases because it would take some time before all the assets of a business are realized. As such, the partner's claims are settled on an installment basis whenever cash becomes available after all partnership liabilities are fully settled. So, paulit-ulit sa liquidation, inuuna talaga yung liabilities, external creditors. When financial statements are prepared during the liquidation process, all the assets of the partnership are restated to their realizable values. So, ano nga ba yung realizable value? Estimated selling price less estimated cost to sell. So, selling price, kung ano yung na-estimate yung selling price ng asset na yun, i-deduct nyo yung any related cost to sell. And all liabilities to their expected settlement amounts. Yan. The use of historical cost, fair value, present value, or other measurement basis is appropriate only when the entity is a going concern. So, tandaan nyo lagi kung ano ba yung values na gagamitin every time na may transaction or scenario yung business nyo. In this case, liquidation, you use realizable values. Yeah. And then second process, settlement of claims. The available cash of the partnership is used to settle claims using the following order of priority. First priority, outside creditors. Second priority, inside creditors or payables to partners. Pag may utang yung partnership sa partner. Iba yung capital nila sa utang ng partnership. Okay? So yung parang na-discuss natin before, meron tayong receivable from partners or payable to partners. So hindi yun capital but liability yun. Then the third order of priority is the owner's capital balances. So saka pa lang magka-credit yung o masasettle o mababayaran yung partners kapag na-settle na yung outside creditors and inside creditors. Yan. So, meron din tayong right of offset. A loan payable to a partner has a higher priority over the partner's capital balance kasi liability siya, hindi siya capital. However, the legal right of offset allows a deficit in a partner's capital account to be offset by a loan payable to that partner. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng right of offset? Kapag nagka-deficit yung capital balance ng partner, deficit meaning negative. Kasi may, 'di ba, syempre hindi naman yung cash na marireceive nyo sa pagbenta ng non-cash assets, hindi naman yung total 100% mabebenta nyo siya as to its carrying value. So may time talaga na ibebenta nyo siya lesser than its carrying value kasi urgent na yung pagbenta nyo. So lesser siya sa true value niya. Kaya nagkaka-loss, loss on sale of these assets. Kapag may loss on sale sa mga assets na to, yung loss, ina-allocate siya sa capital balance ng partners as in accordance with their profit and loss ratio. Yan. So kapag after the allocation of that loss, may deficit yung partner, halimbawa 100,000 lang yung capital balance niya and then yung share niya sa loss is 120,000. So may 20,000 deficit siya. So this 20,000 deficit, if may payable sa kanya yung partnership, let's say for example, 30,000 yung utang sa kanya ng partnership, may right yung partnership na i-offset yung utang niya sa partner na yon. So 10,000 na lang yung magiging utang, yung marireceive ng partner na yon. Yan, yun yung concept ng right of offset. So this is the comparison between lump sum and installment basis or method of liquidation. So under lump sum, all the non-cash assets are converted to cash. Installment naman, some lang, not all, are converted to cash. And then number 2, the total gain or loss on the sale is allocated to the partner's capital balances based on their P&L ratios. And then under installment, the carrying amount of any unsold non-cash asset is considered as a loss. This is allocated to the partner's capital balances based on their P&L ratio. So later on, pag may example tayo, makikita nyo kung ano yung mini-min ng statement na to. Yan. And then number 3, actual liquidation expenses are allocated to the partner's capital balances based on their P&L ratio. So yung actual liquidation lang ina-allocate sa or dinideduct sa capital balances ng partners. Dito naman sa installment, actual and estimated future liquidation expenses. Kasi since installment lang siya and na-foresee nila na may additional pa silang liquidation expenses, so i-consider yun under installment. I-deduct yun. Yan. And then number 4, the liabilities to outside creditors are fully settled. Kasi lump sum, so isa-settle na nila ng buo. Under installment naman, the liabilities to outside creditors are partially or fully settled. So partially in the sense na ano lang siya, yung amount niya is as to how much was realized lang. Magkano yung cash na, yung net proceeds, magkano yung cash na ano nila, na-receive on the sale of the assets, partial sale of assets. Yan. And then number 5, the liabilities to inside creditors are fully settled. Yan naman, kasi lump sum. Sa installment, liabilities to inside creditors are partially or fully settled, but only after full settlement of the liabilities to outside creditors. And then lastly, any remaining cash is distributed to the owners in full settlement of their interest. And under installment naman, if both the liabilities to outside and inside creditors are fully settled, any remaining cash, less cash set aside for future liquidation expenses, is distributed to the owners as partial settlement of their interest. So, magkakaroon tayo ng example para makita nyo yung difference. Yan. So, lump sum muna tayo. Example, use the following information. Yan. On January 1, the partners of ABC Company decided to liquidate their partnership. The following information was made available. So, cash, 20,000, AR, 60,000, inventory, 120,000, equipment, 300,000. So, total assets of 500,000 and net assets, liabilities and capital. Accounts payable 30,000, payable to be 20,000, A capital 100K, B capital 150, and C capital 200. So 500,000 total. So case number 1, lump sum liquidation. Information on the conversion of non-cash assets is as follows. Ito daw yung scenario. So letter A, 50,000 was collected on the accounts receivable. The balance is uncollectible. And then letter B, 70,000 was received for the entire inventory. Letter C, the equipment was sold for 250,000. Letter D, 2,000 liquidation expenses were paid. Determine the amounts of cash distributed to the partners in the final settlement of their interest. So under this case, all assets were sold. So you can apply lump sum method of liquidation. So step number 1, in the winding up of affairs, you compute for the gain or loss on sale. So this is always the step number 1. Compute nyo how much is the carrying value of assets and how much was were those assets sold for. So first daw, accounts receivable, 50,000 lang yung na-realize sa accounts receivable. And then next, inventory, 70,000 lang yung na-collect, nabenta. And then sa equipment naman, nabenta siya for 250,000. And then may liquidation expenses of 2,000. So negative siya, negative 2,000. Yung net cash proceeds sa realization of these non-cash assets is 368,000. So i-compare nyo to, net cash proceeds against the fair value of or the carrying amount of non-cash assets. So paano ba na-compute yung carrying amount ng non-cash assets? Non-cash meaning AR, inventory, and equipment. So non-cash, i-exclude nyo yung cash. Huwag nyo kunin itong 500K. Kasi yung cash, realize na siya, cash na siya. So kukunin nyo lang is AR 60,000 plus inventory 120,000 plus equipment 300,000. And then, yung difference ng dalawa is loss on sale. So, 368 minus 480,000 is 112,000 negative. So, itong negative loss or loss on sale, i-allocate nyo siya sa capital balances ng partners using their profit and loss ratio. So, yun yung next step nyo. Yan. Step number 2, allocate the gain or loss to the partner's capital balances. And then you need to include their right of offset. So for A, yung capital balance ni A given sa problem 100,000, kay B 150,000, and kay C 200,000. So may payable to B, i-extend nyo sa column ni B 20,000. So yung total interest of each partner sa partnership is for A, 100,000, kay B, 170,000, and kay C naman, 200,000. Yan. So now you will allocate the loss using their P&L ratio. So for A, 112,000 times 20%, 22,400. Kay B naman, 112,000 times 30%, 33,600. Kay C, 56,000, which is 50% of the loss, 112,000. Yan. So ang difference, yun na lang yung amounts received by partners. Yan, 77,000 600 kay A, 136,400 kay B, and 144,000 kay C. Total of 358,000. Yan. And then, paano nyo siya i-journalize? So, debit cash, 368,000. Debit loss on sale, debit kasi normal balance ng loss or expense is debit, 112,000. Tapos, credit nyo na yung carrying values ng non-cash assets. For AR, 60,000, inventory, 120,000, equipment, 300,000. So, yung full amount yung i-credit nyo, hindi lang yung magkano yung na-realize for AR 50, inventory 70, and equipment 250. Hindi ito yung i-credit nyo. I-credit nyo yung full amount ng or yung carrying value ng assets. Para balance pa rin yung accounting equation nyo at magiging zero yung value ng non-cash assets nyo. Yan. And then to record the share on the loss, you debit A capital, 22,000. Ito yun, i-journalize nyo to. Debit B capital naman and C capital. Credit, loss on sale. Yan. Kino-close nyo yung loss on sale sa capital balance. Parang closing entry lang. Yan. And then next entry naman, debit nyo na yung accounts payable ito. Kasi babayaran nyo na yung full accounts payable. Credit cash, 30,000. And then, itatanggalin nyo na, babayaran nyo na naman yung payable kay B. Debit payable to B, 20,000. Credit cash, 20,000. And then the remaining, i-debit nyo na yung settlement sa each partners. Yeah. Bakit 308? Mali yung capital ni C. Mali na naman yung book. Dami talagang mali ng book. Dapat C capital 144 tapos total cash 358. Yan. So ganito yung itsura ng statement of liquidation nyo. I-plot nyo lang lahat ng assets and i-identify nyo cash and non-cash, tapos lahat ng liabilities and then equity. A capital, B capital, C capital. Yan. So i-plot nyo balances before liquidation. Ito yung given sa problem. Ito yun. And then conversion of non-cash assets and distribution of loss. So yung proceeds nyo lang is 368,000. So madadagdagan yung cash nyo. Ito yun, 368. And then yung carrying value, i-deduct nyo yung sa non-cash asset. So zero na yung non-cash asset nyo kasi nabenta nyo na siya. And then yung difference between the two, allocation of the loss among partners based on their profit and loss ratio. So for A, may minus, kay B may minus, and kay C 56,000 minus. So i-total nyo lang, total cash now is 388,000. So paano nyo i-settle yung cash na to? I-distribute yung cash na to ganito. So accounts payable, 30,000. Payment to outside creditors, ito. So, deduct nyo sa cash nyo. First priority yung accounts payable, outside creditors. Yan. Tapos, zero na yung accounts payable nyo. Next naman, payment to inside creditor, which is B. So, 20,000 minus sa cash. And then, 20,000 naman minus kay B. So, zero na yung liabilities nyo at this point. So, yung allocation, yung final allocation ng remaining cash, which is 338,000 na lang, ganito yung balances based sa computation na to. So, ganito na yung statement of liquidation nyo. Madali lang, di ba? Basta alamin nyo lang yung step-by-step process. First, compute for the gain or loss on sale of non-cash assets, and then settle the liabilities as to priority, outside first, tapos inside, and then any remaining will be distributed to the partners using their profit and loss ratio. Okay, clear ba? May question kayo? May gusto kayong ulitin, hindi nyo naintindihan?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay, proceed. No question. Ba't hindi ko kayo naririnig? Or walang nagsasalita? Okay, clear. Yan. Next naman, example is installment liquidation. Yun. So, same given ito. But assume that the partnership will be liquidated over a prolonged period of time. Distributions to the partners will be made as cash becomes available. Information on the conversion of non-cash assets is as follows. So 75% of the accounts receivable was collected for only 30,000. Half of the inventory was sold for 40,000, and equipment with carrying amount of 200,000 was sold for 120,000. Actual liquidation expenses of 2,000 were paid. Estimated future liquidation expenses totaled 1,000, and 9,000 cash was retained in the business for potential unrecorded liabilities and anticipated expenses. Determine the amounts of cash distributed to the partners from the partial realization of partnership assets. So first step, same, compute for the gain or loss on sale. Yan. So first, collection of receivables. 30,000 lang yung na-collect. So ito yung i-extend nyo sa column na to. And then sale of inventory, 40,000. Half of the inventory was sold for 40,000. And then sale of equipment, 200,000 carrying value, 120,000 was the cash received. And then liquidation expenses, negative 2,000. And then estimated liquidation expenses, negative 1,000, and cash retained for future expenses, 9,000. So under installment liquidation, you consider the estimated liquidation expenses. Kahit hindi pa siya na-incur, estimate pa lang siya. I-deduct nyo na siya sa allocation. And then the cash retained also for future expenses, i-deduct nyo din siya. So yung total net cash proceeds lang is 178,000. Total nyo lang. I-less nyo ngayon yung carrying amount of all non-cash assets. So, di ba, na-discuss natin kanina na you compute for the loss using the carrying amount of all non-cash assets or the carrying amounts of the non-cash assets unsold are considered as a loss. So, tandaan nyo yan sa installment liquidation. Yan. So, ang total loss na i-allocate among partners equals 302,000. So, the difference between the two. Yan. So, ang step number 2, the same, allocate the gain or loss the partner's capital balances, include their right of offset. So, capital balances, ito, payable to be 20,000. So, total interest of all partners, 470,000. Allocation of loss. So, instead of 112 kanina yung loss, 302 na yung loss. Kasi, hindi lahat nabenta. And yung mga hindi nabenta under installment, considered siya as loss. So, i-allocate nyo yung 302,000 among partners, 20% kay A, 60,400, kay B naman, 30%, 90,600, and kay C, 50%, 151,000. So, amounts received by the partners on the first installment is 39,600 for A, 79,400 for B, and 49,000 for C. So, 168,000, ito yun. So, 168 lang yung na-allocate sa kanila kasi meron kayong iniwan na 10,000. Ito yun. So, may 10,000 pa na cash ang partnership for future use. Kaya hindi yung buong 178 ang binigay sa kanila but 168 lang yung inallocate sa kanila. Yan. Okay? Ito yung example sa installment liquidation. Kapag nabenta na finally yung remaining non-cash assets and na bayaran na lahat ng outside creditors, so ano nyo lang, i-allocate nyo lang yung proceeds using their P&L ratio. Yan. So nakita nyo na yung difference between lump sum and installment liquidation. Yan. So marshalling of assets na tayo. Ito, under din to siya sa installment liquidation lang. Kasi ang lump sum, wala na nito kasi ang lump sum terminated na once lang mag-liquidate. So, under yung concept na to under installment basis or piecemeal basis. Yeah. As mentioned previously, one of the characteristics of a partnership is unlimited liability. This is because the personal assets of the general partners are subject to the claims of partnerships, creditors in case of partnership insolvency. The legal doctrine of marshalling of assets is applied when the partnership and some of the partners are insolvent. So ito yung rules kapag may insolvent among partners. So first rule, Any available assets of the partnership are used to settle the partnership's liabilities. Yan. Ano ba yung insolvent or insolvency? Insolvency kapag yung assets of the partnership are insufficient to pay all its liabilities. Meaning, total liabilities is greater than total assets. Or meron kayong deficit sa capital, negative yung net assets nyo. Yan. So under this case, the solvent general partners are required to provide additional funds from their personal assets. The claims to the personal assets of a partner are ranked in the following order. So number 1, those owing to personal creditors of the partner. Number 2, those owing to partnership creditors. Number 3, those owing to partners by way of contribution. Yan. So under this doctrine, legal doctrine, sinasabi na una munang isettle yung personal liabilities ng general partner. Halimbawa, di ba, as a person, meron ka ring personal liabilities mo. Yung claim ng partnership sa'yo is yung assets lang na clear of personal debts. Yan. So, hindi nila pwedeng i-claim yung assets mo na used to pay your personal creditors. Okay? So, ito yung ranking ng claims sa personal assets of a general partner. Yeah. And then third, in case some partners are insolvent or limited partners kasi hindi na kasi ano ba yung tawag doon? Hindi limited lang yung loss nila sa capital balances nila. May stipulation ganito sa agreement na ikaw limited partner ka lang. So kapag limited partner ka, hindi maki-claim yung personal assets mo to settle partnership debts or liabilities. Yan. So their capital deficiency is offset to the capital balances of the other partners. So kapag negative yung capital balance ng isang partner, kasi insolvent siya, wala na siyang personal asset, or limited partner lang siya, yung difference na yun or yung negative na yun, i-allocate nyo among the solvent general partners. Yan. If after allocating the capital deficiency of an insolvent or limited partner, a solvent partner's capital balance results to a negative amount, the solvent partner is required to provide additional contribution. Yan. So, example, use the following information for the next two independent cases. On January 1, the partners of ABC Company decided to liquidate their partnership. Following information are available. So, cash, AR, inventory, equipment, total of 500K, and then same lang. So, case number 1, all partners are personally solvent. Meaning, kaya nilang mag-contribute to satisfy the liabilities of the partnership. And information on the conversion of non-cash assets is as follows. So 10,000 was collected on the accounts receivable. The balance is uncollectible. 5,000 was received for the entire inventory. And the equipment was sold for 53,000 and paid 2,000 for liquidation expenses. Determine the amounts of cash distributed to the partners in the final settlement of their interest. So same first step, compute the gain or loss on sale of non-cash assets. So first, 10,000 lang daw yung na-collect sa AR, 5,000 lang nabenta yung inventories, tapos 53,000 lang nabenta yung equipment, and then nagbayad sila ng 2,000 liquidation expenses. So yung net cash proceeds or magkano lang na-receive sa pagbenta ng non-cash assets na to is 66,000. So yung carrying amount compare sa carrying amount ng non-cash assets, 480,000. Total loss on sale is 414,000. Yan. So now you will allocate this 414,000 to the capital balances of the partners. Yan. Ito na yung step number 2. So, plot nyo lang yung capital balances and the payables to any partner, total interest. Then, i-allocate nyo yung 414K based on their P&L ratio for A, 20%, for B, 30%, for C, 50%. So, na-notice nyo sa subtotal or sa total, naging negative yung balance ni C. 17,000 yung natira kay A, 45,800 naman natira kay B, kay C, negative, deficit na yung capital balance niya. So, since solvent naman si C, and general partner siya, mag-i-invest siya ng additional 7,000 para ma-eliminate yung deficit sa account balance niya. Yan. So, amounts received by the partner, 17,200 for A, 45,800 kay B. Tapos kay C, 0 kasi mag-a-add nga siya ng 7,000. So, total is 63,000. Ito yung para sa case number 1 wherein all partners are personally solvent. Yan. Then sa case number 2 naman kapag personally insolvent si C. Use the same information except that C is insolvent. So same, again, compute nyo yung gain or loss on sale. So 414,000, allocate nyo sa capital balances ng partners. So negative 7,000 kay C. Ngayon, since insolvent siya, wala na siyang pera, wala siyang ibibigay sa partnership. So ngayon, yung 7,000 na deficit, i-eliminate nyo by distributing it to the remaining solvent partners, which is A and B, which are A and B, using their P&L ratio. Yan. So, tandaan nyo, yung allocation, base lang siya. Yung denominator niya is yung sum of their capital balances. So, this case, 50%. Yung denominator over 50%. So, 20% over 50% is ano? 40% yung allocation kay A, 2,800. Kay B naman, 60%, 4,200. So, yung amount received by the partners, 14,400 kay A, compute nyo lang, and 41,600 kay B. Yung difference. So, ganito, i-allocate nyo yung deficit ng isang partner sa capital balances ng solvent or general partner. Kapag sinabi sa problem na B is a limited partner, hindi niyo na i-allocate yung yung buong 7,000 kay A lang siya. Yan. Yan. So kapag magso-solve kayo, Hindi pwede both limited kasi, di ba, kahit na limited partnership, dapat may at least one general partner. Di ba na-discuss natin before? Yung types of partnership. Yan. So next naman, discuss natin yung concept of safe payment schedule and cash priority program. So yung paano daw natin ni-liquidate yung partnership using installment liquidation can be presented in a formal manner through safe payment schedule or cash priority program. So ito option lang ng partnership to use these schedules or program. So these schedules will prevent overpayments to partners during installment liquidation. The safe payment schedule shows how much cash can be safely paid to the partners during installment liquidation, which avoids any overpayment. The preparation of this schedule requires the application of the same concepts as those we have applied earlier. So unsold non-cash assets are treated as loss. Diba? Sa installment basis, unsold non-cash assets are treated as loss. And expected future liquidation costs and potential unrecorded liabilities are recognized immediately as losses. So, kino-consider natin under installment yung future expenses. Yan. So, the sum of 1 and 2 is referred as maximum loss possible. MLP, maximum loss possible. The safe payment schedule may be used as supporting information to a statement of liquidation. Yan, example. So, ito yung given na naman, same. And then yung ano yung nangyari on the first month of liquidation process, 75% of the accounts receivable was collected for only 30,000. Half of the inventory was sold for 40,000. Equipment with carrying amount of 200,000 was sold for 120,000. 2,000 liquidation expenses were paid. Estimated future liquidation expenses totaled 1,000. And 9,000 cash was retained in the business for potential unrecorded liabilities and anticipated expenses. Prepare the safe payment schedule on January 1, 2021. Yeah. So first step under safe payment schedule, SPS, determine the actual loss on realization of assets. So ano ba yung actual loss lang? So first, loss on collection of AR. So kunin nyo yung carrying value ng AR na na-collect, which is 75%. 75% ng 60,000. Ano yung 75%? 45,000 yung carrying value ng accounts receivable na na-collect nyo. Pero 30,000 lang yung na-receive. So meron kang loss of 15,000. So i-extend nyo sa column na yun. 15,000 yung loss. And then loss on sale of inventory naman. Paano nyo i-compute yung loss of sale on inventory? Half daw yung inventory was sold for 40,000. Magkano yung half ng inventory? 60,000. Half of 120,000 is the carrying value of The inventory sold 60,000 but it was only sold for 40,000. So meron siyang loss of 20,000. So dito, loss on sale of inventory, 20,000. And then loss on sale of equipment, yung carrying amount ng equipment is 200,000 pero 120,000 lang yung cash na, o 120,000 yun lang siya nabenta. So yung difference between the carrying amount less the cash received is 80,000, yun yung loss nyo. So 80,000. Then you also include the actual liquidation expenses, 2,000. Actual loss on realization is 117,000. So i-add nyo lang. So ngayon, ang step number 1, actual lang, hindi yung estimated. Actual lang yung i-compute nyo. And then step number 2, compute nyo yung maximum loss possible. Dito naman, i-include yung future estimated costs or expenses. Yan. So carrying amount of unsold non-cash assets, 175,000. Paano nyo na-compute yung 175,000? Yung unsold na AR, 25% ng 60% is 15,000 plus inventory, half ng inventory, 60,000 plus equipment, 100,000. Unsold ha, unsold. So, i-compute nyo lang dito yung mga unsold portion minus yung mga nabenta. So, yun yung carrying amount of unsold non-cash assets, 175,000. Yan. And then, estimated future liquidation costs, 1,000. And cash set aside for potential unrecorded liabilities, 9,000. Ito yung maximum loss possible. Ito yung actual, ito yung maximum loss possible. So, under safe payment schedule, i-segregate nyo. Segregate nyo yung actual versus the possible loss pa in the future. Yan. So, kapag i-total nyo to, 117,000 plus 185,000, 302,000 yung total. Same lang siya dito. Sana yun? Dito. Same lang siya. Kasi dito, kinompute lang natin siya at once. 302,000. Pero dito sa safe payment schedule, isegregate natin yung actual against the possible loss pa in the future. So kapag i-add nyo, same lang yung magiging result. So 117,000 plus 185,000 is 302,000. Yan. So after this, mapiprepare nyo na yung safe payment schedule. Ganito yung itsura niya. Yan. So yung safe payment schedule, i-plot nyo lang payable to be, and then capital balances before liquidation, total interest, and then allocation on loss. So 23,000, ito 117,000. I-allocate nyo to using their P&L ratio. Yan. So for A, 20%, for B, 30%, and for C, 58,500. So first allocation is on the actual and the second allocation is on the maximum loss possible. So same pa rin yung result. 39,000 yung makukuha ni A, 79,400 kay B, and 49,000 kay C. When preparing a safe payment schedule, the actual and estimated losses are computed separately. Yan, separately. The computations presented earlier are just a simplification of the computation for distributions to the partners. Same amounts of distributions to the partners will result. So same amounts lang, i-compare nyo siya dito sa example natin kanina. Ito. So, 168,000 yung settlement sa kanila. Ito, simplified version. Pero, mas okay na gagamitin yung safe payment schedule to avoid overpayment nga by computing maximum loss possible. So, the balance of cash is reconciled as follows. So, beginning 20,000, given sa problem ito, 20,000. Tapos, collection of AR, 30,000. Sale of inventory, 40,000. Sale of equipment, 120,000. Tapos, dito naman sa credit side, payment for liquidation. And then, payment to outside creditors, 30,000. And payment to partners, finally, 168,000. So, yung cash balance nyo is 10,000. Itong 10,000, di ba nag-set aside tayo ng 10,000 before for ito. So, ito yung cash balance ng partnership. 1,000 for future liquidation and 9,000 set aside for potential unrecorded liabilities. So, ito yung i-set aside na cash. Ito yung balance as of January 31. So, yan. Kapag next month, nakapag-realize na naman kayo ng non-cash assets or may nabenta kayo. So, example, the following transactions occurred on February next month, yan. 10,000 was collected on the remaining accounts receivable. The balance was deemed uncollectible. And then the other half of the inventory was sold for 20,000. The remaining items of equipment were sold for 30,000. 10,000 liquidation expenses and previously unrecorded liabilities were paid. And the liquidation process ended on February 28. So, nag-wind up na finally yung affairs ng partnership. So, lahat ng non-cash assets na-realize na on the second month. So, prepare the safe payment schedule. So, on the final settlement, there is no need to compute for the maximum loss possible kasi na-compute na kanina. So, i-compute nyo na lang yung loss on realization of the remaining non-cash assets which were sold. So, ano yung remaining na non-cash assets? Yung mga carrying values nila, compute natin yung loss. So, for AR, diba na ano natin kanina, AR, 25% of 60,000. 15,000 yung remaining AR. But 10,000 lang yung na-collect. So 15,000 minus 10,000 is 5,000 loss. Yan. And then loss on sale of inventory, di ba kanina half na benta natin, half hindi na benta. So 60,000 times minus 20,000 is 40,000 yung loss on sale of inventory. Tapos may remaining pa tayong equipment kanina for 100,000 but now it was sold for only 30,000 so may loss kang 70,000 for equipment. And then you deduct also the actual liquidation expenses. Actual na siya. Hindi na siya estimated. So actual loss on realization on February is 125,000 total nyo lang. So this 125,000, this is the third settlement. Yan. So, di ba meron na tayong balance nito kanina. $117 plus 168. Yan. So, i-plot lang natin sa safe payment schedule natin. Yan. So, di ba dito tayo kanina? Ito yung allocation. So, sabi dito, no need to compute for the maximum loss possible. So, wala na to. So, sa February 28, yung itsura ng safe payment schedule nyo is first, ayan na, na-plot nyo na yung total interest of each partners. Allocation of loss on realization on January, 23,000 for A, 35,000 for B, and 58,000 for C. So, 117,000 yung actual realization. Ito yung allocate nyo. And then, for the next naman, first installment payment to partners. So, binayaran sila ng 168,000. So, ngayon, i-deduct nyo dito yung amount. Ito yung 168,000. Ito yung settlement sa kanila. So, i-deduct nyo to. So, since binayaran sila, meron na lang silang interest on the beginning of February, kay A, 37,000, kay B, 55,500, and kay C, 92,500. So, i-deduct nyo lang lahat ng settlement sa kanila. So, yung actual loss on the first sale or installment minus the payment, first installment payment. So, ito na lang yung capital balances nila. And then, i-allocate nyo na yung actual loss on the second realization, which is this one, 125,000. So, based on their P&L ratio, 20% kay A, 25,000, 30% kay B, 37,500, and 50% kay C, 62,500. So, ito na yung last allocation of loss. So, final installment to partners na, i-deduct nyo lang. Yung interest niya beginning minus loss on second realization or final realization, so 12,000. And then 18,000 kay B, C naman 30,000, so 60,000. Ito yung final installment payment to partners. Yan, the balance of cash is reconciled as follows. So ito yung beginning na cash niya kasi ending ng January, ito yun, 10,000. So meron kang beginning na 10,000 and then nakakollect ka ng 10,000 AR, nakabenta ka ng inventory for 20,000 and equipment for 30,000. And then payment for liquidation expenses, dito siya sa credit side, 10,000, and the final payment to partner, 60,000. So, zero na yung cash nyo at the end of February. Yan. So, ganito yung statement of liquidation nyo. Same lang, i-plot nyo lang cash, non-cash, tapos payable, payable to B, A capital, B capital, C capital. Realization of assets and distribution of loss, 188,000. Then, i-distribute nyo yung difference between the book value or the carrying value of non-cash assets against cash received. So, ito yung allocation ng loss. And then, carrying balances. Then, payment to outside creditors. Ito, i-zero out nyo to. Then, i-zero out nyo to. And, magbabayad kayo sa partners. First installment, ganito. So, balance as of January 31. So, parang cumulative running balance lang yung itsura ng statement of liquidation nyo. And then, on February, nakarealize kayo ng 50,000 na cash against 175,000 carrying value. So, the difference is the loss. And then, finally, the remaining balance is 60,000 will be distributed to partners dito. So, zero na yung lahat. Zero na yung assets, yung accounting equation, yung assets, liabilities, and equity upon final liquidation. So, i-familiarize nyo lang yung table na to para marunong kayong mag-prepare ng report na ito. Yan. Yan yung safe payment schedule na piniprepare. So may questions pa kayo so far? Hindi kayo nag-gets na computation? Bago tayo mag-proceed sa next, which is cash priority program. Finally, tama yung book. May mali nga kanina eh, yung sa journal entries. Syunga-syunga talaga. So, dapat 144. Tapos 358. Okay? So, familiarize niyo yung mga tables, mga computation. Yan. And alamin niyo yung steps. Steps in winding up of affairs or so first, sige mamaya sa summary. So yan, so proceed tayo sa cash priority program. So ito din, may option yung company to use yung safe payment schedule or cash priority program. Yan. So this schedule naman determines which partner shall be paid first and which partner shall be paid last after all the liabilities are settled. The schedule can be prepared even prior to the sale of any asset. So the preparation of this schedule requires the application of the same concepts. Yan. So unsold non-cash assets are treated as loss and expected future liquidation costs and potential unrecorded liabilities are recognized immediately as losses. Yan. But under CPP, you have an additional procedure, which is to rank the partners in accordance with their maximum loss absorption capacity. The partner with the highest maximum loss absorption capacity shall be paid first. The partner with the lowest maximum loss absorption capacity shall be paid last. So how you compute MLAC? Total partners' interest in the partnership divided by their P&L ratio or percentage. So, ganun lang yung computation ng MLAC. Yan. For example, so given yung information below, same lang. So, yan. Even prior to the sale of any asset, we can determine the amount of minimum safe payments to the partners when or as cash becomes available by preparing a cash priority program. So under cash priority program, makikita nyo yung allocation ng cash when it becomes available as to priority. Sino yung unang babayaran? Yan. First, the maximum loss absorption capacities of the partners are determined. This will be the basis in ranking the partners according to their priority over cash payments. Yan. So, capital balances before liquidation and payable to be. So, total interest in the partnership, i-plot nyo lang. Ito. Divide by their P&L ratio. And then their MLAC are as follows. So, sino yung pinakamalaki? Siya yung may pinakamalaking MLAC or maximum loss absorption capacity. So, si A, meron siyang 500K, si B, 566K, si C, 400K. So, if you rank these three, B will have the first priority, A will have the second priority, and C will have the third priority. Yan. And then second step, the partners MLAC are equalized. So, paano nyo siya i-equalize? Yan. So, i-plot nyo lang yung rank of payment, tapos their maximum loss absorption capacity, difference between first and second. So, meron silang 66K difference. So, i-deduct mo lang siya sa first para maging equal. And then finally, the difference between the first, second, and third, which is 100,000. So 500 minus 400, 100,000. So now they have equal MLAC. Yeah. So third, the cash priorities are computed by multiplying the differences above by the respective P&L ratio. So ito yung first priority, 66% times 30%. So CC, meron siyang excess capacity to absorb loss of 66,667 over A and C. So times nyo lang by 30% yung P&L ratio niya. So meron siyang 20,000 first priority. And then second priority, A and B, may priority kay C by 100,000. So i-multiply nyo lang siya by 20% kay A and 30% kay B. So 100,000 times 20% is 20,000 and kay B 30,000. So my second priority, si A to receive 20,000, si B to receive 30,000. Si C wala. Later pa siyang mababayaran. So ang total, A may priority of 20,000, si B may 50,000 na priority. Yeah. The cash priority program above means that when cash becomes available, B is paid 20,000 first. Next, A and B are paid 20,000 and 30,000 respectively, and any remaining cash will be distributed to all partners based on their P&L ratio. So anytime na may available cash, isettle mo na ang cash na yon based on this priority program. Yan. So applications of the CPP. Example, the following transactions occurred on January. 75% of the accounts receivable was collected for only 30,000. Half of the inventory was sold for 40,000. And equipment with carrying amount of 200 was sold for 120K. 2,000 liquidation expenses were paid. Estimated future liquidation expenses total 1,000. 9,000 cash was retained in the business for potential unrecorded liabilities and anticipated expense. So determine the cash payments to the partners on end of January using cash priority program. So ganito yung solution. The amount of cash available for distribution to the partners on January 31 is computed as follows. So, plot nyo lang or i-add nyo lang lahat ng proceeds. So, for AR, meron kang 30,000. For inventory, 40,000. Ito yun ha. 30, 40, 120. Yan. And then, 2,000 less 2,000 liquidation expense. And then any cash set aside. So net cash proceeds, 178,000. Add nyo yung cash balance beginning, 20,000. Ito yun. 20,000 beginning. So, less nyo yung accounts payable kasi babayaran nyo. Dapat isettle nyo muna yung accounts payable. So, cash available for distribution to partners, 168,000. Yan. So, ito yung cash available for distribution to partners. So how do you allocate this 168,000 based on cash priority program? Ganito. Using the CPP, the amounts of distributions are determined as follows. So allocation 1, first priority, 20,000, yung payable to B. I mean, ito. Sana yun? Ito, 20,000 na compute natin. Ito muna unang babayaran si B. 20,000. Tapos second priority na yung 50,000 kay A and B. So 168,000 minus 20,000 first priority minus 50,000 second priority equals 98,000 balance. So this 98,000, i-allocate nyo siya sa partners using their P&L ratio. So payment after priorities, 98,000 times 20%, kay A, 19,600, kay B, 30%, 29,400, kay C, 49,000. So ang kay A, marireceive ni A is 39,600, 79,400 naman kay B, and 49,000 kay C. After A and B are allocated their cash priorities, any balance is allocated to the partners based on their respective P&L ratios. The amounts computed above are equal to the amounts computed in the previous illustrations for safe payment schedule. So the same lang yung ending balance. Dito sa safe payment, puntahan natin. Ito. 39,600, 79,400, and 49. Yan. So, ang difference lang, nag-prioritize kayo. May priority as to allocation. Okay? And then next month, naka-realize ulit kayo ng net cash assets, 10,000 was collected on the remaining accounts receivable, the balance is uncollectible. The other half of the inventory was sold for 20,000. The remaining items included in the equipment account are sold for 30,000. 10,000 liquidation expenses and previous unrecorded liabilities were paid and liquidation process ended. So finally, nag-liquidate na or nabayaran, nabenta na lahat ng non-cash assets. So how do you allocate this using the cash priority program? Compute nyo lang yung proceeds. 10,000 daw sa AR, 20,000 sa inventory, and on equipment, 30,000. So less liquidation. So net cash proceeds, 50,000. Add February 1 cash balance, 10,000. Ito yung sinet aside nyo kanina. 10,000. 1,000 for estimated liquidation and 9,000 for unrecorded liabilities. Cash nyo pa siya kasi hindi pa naman nababayaran. Estimate lang yun before. So, i-add nyo siya dito. Cash available for distribution to partners is 60,000. So, using the CPP, the amounts of distributions to the partners on February 28 are determined as follows. So, since naubos nyo na yung priority allocation kanina, ito, nabayad na to full. So, yung allocation ng 60,000 is based on their P&L ratio na. So payment after priority, 60,000 times 20% kay A, 12,000, 30% kay B, 18,000, and 50% kay C, 30,000. So final installment payment, 12,000 kay A, 18,000 kay B, and 30,000 kay C. So same lang siya sa safe payment schedule dito. So, 12, 18, 30 sa February 28. So any method or any schedule you prepare will give the same result. Ang difference lang sa CPP, you give priority to the MLAC. Ano ba yung MLAC? Yung partner na may highest maximum loss absorption capacity. Okay, na-gets nyo ba yung mga concepts? May question kayo? Gets lang. So, okay. Done na tayo sa partnership liquidation. So, in summary, ano yung liquidation? It is the termination of business operations or the winding up of affairs. So again, yung order ng priority to settle the claims in cases of liquidation, number 1. Ano yung number 1? Sino yung unang babayaran? Wala, hindi niya matandaan.
Outside creditors.
Yan, outside creditors. Tapos next,
Inside creditors.
and finally,
Vendors' capital balances.
yun. Yan. So, in case naman insolvent yung partnership, the rule of marshaling of assets is applied. So, marshaling of assets, ang meaning nito is you can run after the personal assets of the partners. So, kukunin nyo din yung personal assets niya to settle partnership debts. Yan. And any capital deficiency of an insolvent partner is absorbed by the solvent partners. Pero kapag solvent siya, mag-a-add siya ng additional cash sa business to remove his capital, what? Ano yung term doon? Capital deficiency. Yan. So, ano yung step number 1? When computing for the settlement of partners' interest. Ano yung i-compute nyo? Yan. So, compute nyo una yung loss on sale. Gain or loss on sale. By comparing the net proceeds against the net proceeds versus what? Net proceeds versus, yan, carrying value of non-cash assets. Carrying value or carrying amount of non-cash assets sold. Yan. If greater than yung proceeds, anong meron? Gain or loss? Gain. If less than naman yung proceeds, sa carrying value, meron kayong loss. Yan. Okay? And then, you will allocate the gain or loss to the partner's interest. So, any gain or loss, i-allocate nyo sa partners using their ano yung gagamitin yung allocation? P&L ratio, hindi capital ratio, okay? Yan. Then under the cash priority program, when all the priorities are paid, any remaining cash distribution is allocated to the partners based on their respective P&L ratio. Yan. So, done na tayo. So, good luck sa ano nyo, sa final exam. Sana pumasa kayo lahat.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gawin nyo yung best nyo. Mag-aaral kayo. Yung mali sa book, yung journal entry, mali lang yung amount na in-extend niya sa capital ni C. So, yung passing grade is 1.5 or 65%. So, yung mga below 65% sa midterm grade, dapat bumawi kayo sa second quarter. And sa final exam, 1/3 siya ng final grade. Yun. And then, ano pa ba? pa ba? May natutunan naman kayo sa class na to.
Yes, ma'am.
Or wala? Mahirap yung online learning. Mahirap talaga.
Sobra, ma'am.
Kasi 'di ba, yung mga ganitong explanations mas maigi talaga kapag nasa blackboard, isusulat nyo, magso-solve kayo. Parang mas maganda yung ganun. Ganito, parang feeling limited lang. Ayun, so mag-aral kayo ng mabuti. May i-upload pa akong partnership operations na long quiz para, 'di ba easy na lang yung quizzes ko. Dapat perfect nyo na yung lahat. Ano pa ba? Yun lang. Answer key sa dissolution, hindi pa lahat naka-take. Nasaan na ba yun? May mali ka ba? Wala ka atang mali eh. Parang perfect. So, okay na, blackout daw. Mag-aral na lang kayo. Sige, bigyan ko kayo ng chance. Tapos yung mga yung mga, antag dito, yung mga may problem sa e-class ha, i-PM nyo lang ako para tignan natin paano natin i-solve. Okay, so bye-bye na. May question pa
Bye,
kayo?
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Upload ko na lang yung yung quiz nyo sa liquidation and sa operations, then finals this week. Okay? Wait lang yung attendance nyo. Kala nyo hindi ako nag-check ha. Ba't 19 na lang kayo? Nawala na yung iba.
Bakunan.
Yan. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.